Welcome to IAS project. In this video, we will be talking about the burial practices that were prevalent in Indus civilization. Before we go into the lecture, let's see if you can answer this question. Consider the following types of burial practices. We have three types of burial practices given here. And the question is, which of the above methods were practiced in Indus civilization? The first type is cremation. The second type is complete burial. The third type is fractional burial. If you know the answer to this question, please answer it in the comment section. If you do not know what all these burial practices or types of burial practices are, you will be learning in this video. If we want to talk about burial practices in Indus civilization, first we have to start at the pre-Harappan phase. We know that the pre-Harappan phases can be mainly distinguished based on two things. The first factor is pottery, that is what kind of pottery were people making. Were they making grey ware, or were they making red ware, or were they making buff ware? Depending on these, we can classify these pre-Harappan phase cultures. The second factor for determining different pre-Harappan phase cultures is the burial practices that were used by these people. For example, if we talk about Kulli culture, then in Kulli culture, people were practicing cremation as the important burial practice. Cremation simply means burning of the dead body. If we talk about another pre-Harappan culture like Null culture, then in Null culture, people were practicing fractional burial. What is fractional burial? Fractional burial is a practice where the dead body is initially exposed to the environment. What does it mean? Exposed to the environment simply means that the dead body is left outside and birds and animals may come and eat it. So once the birds and animals eat whatever they can, then the remaining bones are collected and they are buried. So this is basically the difference between fractional burial and complete burial. Complete burial means that once the person is dead, that dead body is buried. But fractional burial means that initially the dead body is left to the environment, that is to birds and animals. Then after some time, whatever the bones are remaining, they are collected and then they are buried. So during pre-Harappan phase, for example, different Chalcolithic cultures followed different burial practices. Kulli culture followed cremation, whereas Null culture followed fractional burial. I hope you remember the sites of these cultures. Anyway, let's revise quickly. So these are basically the pre-Harappan Chalcolithic culture locations. We have talked about 5 main cultures, that is Damsadat culture near Quetta Valley, Amri Null culture over here, Kot Diji culture, Hakraware sites, and Soti Siswal culture. All these are basically pre-Harappan Chalcolithic rural cultures. So Kulli culture was actually located somewhere over here. This is basically the region of Kulli culture. And Null culture, you can see Null culture over here. This is nothing but Null culture region. So even though both of these are located close to each other, they were following different kinds of burial practices. So please note the location of Kulli culture is given here. Let me give you another pre-Harappan culture location. In this location, there was a pre-Harappan culture called Zob culture. See, I can guarantee you 99.9% of the time these type of questions are not asked in UPSC prelims. However, if such kind of information came used to you in writing mains answers, then such kind of answer would stand out to the examiner. For example, if there is a mains question asked on elaborate on the cultural differences between pre-Harappan phase cultures and mature Harappan phase culture, then you can write one aspect as burial practices. In such aspect, you can include this kind of information. Otherwise, you don't need this information. So here you have learnt 2 new cultures, that is Kulli culture, which is located over here, and Zob culture, which is located over here. Both are in Pakistan. So that was about the pre-Harappan culture practices of burials. If we talk about mature Harappan culture, then during mature Harappan culture, 3 types of burial practices were mainly used. The first one is complete burial, where the dead body is buried in the ground. The second one is cremation. Cremation means burning of dead body. And after cremation, usually the ashes are collected and then they are buried. The third type of burial practice was called as fractional burial, where initially the dead body is left exposed to birds and animals, and after some time the remaining bones are collected and those bones are buried. Now let's look at some of the specific examples and specific evidences of burial practices in Harappan cities. First, let's talk about Lothal. In Lothal, we have found evidences of pit burials. And in these pit burials, baked bricks were used. For example, you can see pit burial in this picture. So basically, the lining of this pit is nothing but baked bricks. You can see baked bricks in this picture here. So this basically becomes a coffin which is lined with baked bricks. Moreover, in Lothal, we have also found pot burials. What is pot burial? Pot burial is nothing but a burial where a dead body is placed inside a large pot, and then that large pot is buried in the ground. That is nothing but pot burial. So pot burials were also found at Lothal. In some cases, we have found actually two skeletons within a single pot. However, we must note that this practice does not indicate that sati system was prevalent during Harappan culture. I hope you know about sati. Sati is also called as sati sahagamana, where the widow is also burned alive after the death of her husband on his funeral pyre. So this practice is basically called as sati or sati sahagamana, and this was prevalent in India mainly till 19th century CE. We will talk about sati and sati sahagamana more when we talk in modern India about Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his Brahmo Samaj. Okay, that was about the burials that were practiced in Lothal during Harappan civilization. Now let's talk about Harappa. Harappa is in Pakistan, and in Harappa, the dead people were generally laid down in burial pits. Again, burial pit is basically this one. And these burial pits in Harappa were also lined with bricks, just like it is shown here. Moreover, in Harappa, we have also found evidences of wooden coffins. In Harappa, the dead bodies were usually found in north to south direction. So like in this picture, this is north, this is south, east and west. So this is how the dead bodies were buried in Harappa. In this picture, you can also notice some pottery that was buried along with the dead body. So this was very common practice in Harappan civilization. Other than pottery, they also buried items like copper items, food items, jewelry, beads, precious stones and other things. If we talk about Mohenjo-daro, Mohenjo-daro is also located in Pakistan. In Mohenjo-daro, the most important type of burial practices were complete burial as well as post-cremation burial. In Kalibangan, which is located in Rajasthan, urn burial was very famous. Urn burial is nothing but pot burial. So in urn burial or pot burial, what we do is we take a large pot and then we put the dead people inside this pot. And then this pot is buried under the ground. Generally, urn burial was used for children. If we talk about Ropad, which is located in Punjab, here we have found evidence of dog buried along with a man. So this is basically a unique evidence which we have found from Ropad. So these kind of questions can generally be asked in prelims exam. And generally in all the burial sites, we sometimes find food items, pottery, ornaments, copper items, tools as well as precious stones. We must remember that most of such burials belong to rich people, because ordinary and poor people usually did not have copper items and precious stones. And the last important evidence is from Mehergarh, which is located in Pakistan. In Mehergarh, we have found evidence of a man buried along with two goats. So again, this is basically a unique evidence or unique discovery that we have made from Mehergarh. These type of questions you have to remember because such kind of questions can be asked in prelims. Overall, by studying the burial practices of Indus civilization, we can observe one thing. That is, if we compare the burials of Indus civilization and burials of ancient Egypt, we notice that the people of ancient Egypt practiced burials in a very extravagant manner. We know that ancient Egyptians built pyramids, and these pyramids are nothing but tombs. Tomb is nothing but a monument that is built where dead people are buried. For example, you must have heard of Humayun's tomb. Where is Humayun's tomb? Humayun's tomb is in Delhi. Today, it is a famous tourist attraction in Delhi. And Humayun's tomb is nothing but where Humayun was buried. So tombs are monuments built where people are buried. So ancient Egyptians built magnificent tombs which are nothing but pyramids. And moreover, ancient Egyptians also put various items within these pyramids. We have talked about papyrus scrolls that were written in ancient Egyptian language, and such papyrus scrolls have been put in the pyramids along with the mummies of ancient Egyptian rulers. Moreover, they also put other precious items within the pyramids. So if we compare ancient Egyptian pyramids with Indus civilization burials, then Indus civilization burials are not at all grand or are almost nothing when compared to ancient Egyptian burials. So we can say that on the whole, burials in Indus civilization did not contain expensive items like they did in ancient Egypt. If you like this video, please subscribe. You can download this presentation from our Telegram channel. The name of the channel is IAS Project. You can find the link for this channel in the description section below. Thank you.